My peaceful warriors, welcome to another important video on my channel. Please subscribe to this channel, and today we are going to focus on a 7-day challenge. That's right. I'm going to challenge you with day 1, which starts today, and we're going to focus on the different kinds of rest as we go forward throughout each and every day within this challenge. Now, if you want to partake in this 7-day challenge with us in the Health Anxiety University, click here because we are going to be starting this together this weekend, my friends, and we can't wait to have you in the Health Anxiety University. Now, the right kinds of rest is an essential part to regulating your nervous system enough so that you don't keep falling for the interpretations of fear. And when you are dysregulated in your nervous system, when you are experiencing adrenal fatigue, when you feel chronically exhausted, you wake up in the morning and you don't feel like you've really been rested, and you feel like you're utilizing a lot of willpower to try to get through the day. Maybe you're watching motivational videos. Maybe you're looking for motivational quotes or motivational books. If you're doing this, you're not really implementing any kind of strategy, but like I mentioned, you are relying on willpower. And the more willpower you rely on, the quicker you are going to exhaust yourself, which will contribute to the anxiety that you will continue to feel. Now, today we are going to start with day 1. Day 1 in our 7-day challenge for overall mental well-being is related to physical rest. Physical rest. Now, let me give you a couple examples of physical rest. We're talking about breath work. We're talking about stillness. We're talking about sleep, and we're talking about massage. These are just a couple of examples when it comes to physical rest, okay, in day 1. Now, with breath work, for example, you could go on YouTube and look up some kind of a breath work routine. I have one right here that you can do for day 1 for breath work to calm the nervous system and to move you away from the fight or flight response and into the rest and digest response. Stillness. Now, with anxiety, we always feel like we have to go and do something. We have to accomplish something. Anxiety sufferers are very much doers, right? They are stuck in doer-ship, meaning, I have to entertain myself and watch some kind of a movie, or I have to do something for my anxiety, or I have to go pick something up, or go communicate with someone. Now, stillness takes you out of all that. And stillness allows you to begin to give yourself permission to be still and move away from doership. That's a key word there, permission, because with so much anxiety healing and overall healing, there comes a point in your life where you have to give yourself permission to adopt a new perception, permission to believe in a new idea when it comes to your symptoms, your anxiety, so on and so forth. Permission to be someone else, even in the face of the elements of anxiety. So permission is very, very important. Sleep, and when I talk about sleep, so many anxiety sufferers have sleep debt, right? They owe themselves sleep. And what you can do with this is you can be very, very gentle on yourself. You don't have to move into victimhood because you feel very sleepy and exhausted. You don't have to do that. But you just want to be gentle on yourself and say, you know what? Over time, I will pay back the sleep debt. And if you can, taking naps throughout the day, 15 and 20 minutes, are absolutely crucial for this. And massage. I'm a big fan of massage, right? Once a week, if you can, twice a week. If it's possible, engage in some kind of massage. Self-massage is also very, very beneficial. Now, physical rest gets us out of the habit of doership, as I mentioned, and into acceptance and allowance, which are key components to anxiety healing. Let me say those words again. Acceptance and allowance. So as you give yourself that physical rest today in day one, in our 7-day challenge, you are going, I allow myself to physically rest, right? And I allow myself to accept the certain chapter that I'm in right now in relation to my evolving, in relation to my anxiety healing, okay? Very, very key. Now, day 2 challenge. Day 2 is spiritual rest. I love spiritual rest. And when we're talking about spiritual rest, we're talking about meditation practices. We're talking about a deeper connection. We're talking about prayer and effective ways of praying. And we're talking about gratitude. All of this contributes to spiritual rest. Now, spiritual rest gives us the opportunity to see beyond the directives of the egoic mind or lower self, okay? Directives, guidance from the lower self, franticness, right? So with spiritual rest, we can start to go, I can actually start to question the push that's coming from my egoic mind or my lower self, right? Pushing me into franticness, pushing me into further doctor visits for symptoms that are related to anxiety, pushing me into Googling symptoms, pushing me into distracting myself from the current event, pushing me away from not being a part of what's going to take place in the future. So with spiritual rest, when it comes to meditation, you don't have to meditate all the time. You have to meditate for 30 seconds if you're a beginner, 30 seconds 3 times a day. That's it. And as you're meditating, all you really have to focus on is your breathing and not trying to control your breathing. This is one of the simplest and most basic ways to meditate, and I'm a big fan of simplicity when it comes to overall healing and anxiety healing. Deeper connection. Now, the connection part is up to you, right? I'm not going to tell you what kind of an energy or what kind of a source you must connect with. But when I'm talking about deeper connection, as you engage in further spiritual rest, you will start to feel deeply connected to some kind of a force, some kind of an energy out there that can actually guide you better than your initial feelings towards things, right? And that's called anxiety. Prayer, effectively praying, not praying in a way where you're begging for change, but more so praying in a way where you are cooperating, right? You are cooperating with that energy, with that force. At the same time, you are acting in line with what it is you want. And gratitude, of course, is a great healer. When you wake up in the morning, instead of focusing on what you want to improve or what's not in place yet, you wake up in the morning and you focus on how grateful you are that 99.9999% of your body is functioning beautifully, or your mind or your emotions, or the fact that your family is healthy, or the fact that you can be in this very moment and you actually woke up this morning. These are things to be grateful for. So spiritual rest is part of our day 2 challenge. Give yourself this. And I'm not going to tell you how long to do it for. It's just one basic practice, right? Either meditation, deeper connection, prayer, gratitude. One practice, that's all you have to do. Don't overcomplicate it. Now, in day 3 of our 7-day challenge, we're focusing on creative rest. I love creative rest. And often with anxiety, we don't give ourselves the chance to be creative until how we want to feel is fulfilled. So we're always waiting for the right feeling and the right time to give ourselves the opportunity to rest creatively, okay? And we don't want that. We want to move into our healing, and we don't want it to come to us and wait for it to come to us, right? So creative rest in day 3 is about journaling, potentially journaling, painting, playing a musical instrument, right? Also, any kind of singing or dancing or anything like this is fantastic for creative rest. Now, creative rest takes us out of thinking on the past, thinking on the future, and back into the present. And you hear about the present all the time. However, a lot of people with anxiety don't really understand what it's like to be in the present. Because with anxiety, you are always focusing on protecting from something that may occur in the future based on an idea that has shown up in the past and has become a belief system within your nervous system. So being present is very unfamiliar. It's foreign territory for anxiety sufferers. However, when you're engaging in day 3 creative rest, you are, at least to some extent, being present. When you're writing something down, right, you are being present. When you are engaged with a musical instrument, playing the guitar, whatever it is, the drums, you are trying to build up some kind of an unconscious pattern based on what you're doing in that very moment. So you're being present, right? These are very, very powerful ways of engaging with creative rest in day 3, okay? Day 4 of our 7-day challenge is about emotional rest. You're going to love emotional rest. You're going to love it. And emotional rest for me has become a lifestyle. It really has. To escape the rat race, to escape the system, to escape all of these systems in place in our modern society that says you have to be a certain way, act a certain way. At the age of 20, this happens. At the age of 30, this happens. 40, 50, 60, this happens. 80, 90, so on and so forth. And, you know, when I lived in the East for many, many years, I remember asking some of the gurus and some of the teachers over there, how old are you now? And they looked quite old, but they didn't even know how old they were. And that got me thinking, why do I even need to know what age I am? Why do I need to always be in line with my name and the belief systems that have come with my name? These are things to start questioning, but emotional rest is about surrendering. So much of what we are engaged in the Health Anxiety University is related to surrendering. I've been helping people with anxiety for just over 15 years now. And there is nothing more powerful than the intention to surrender to the very thing that you've been looking for answers for. Right? Surrendering to an idea and allowing it to be there, surrendering to a feeling, surrendering to an old belief, surrendering to a symptom, surrendering to what may happen in the future and not looking to control some aspect of it, right? So surrendering, along with the surrender sessions, of course, these are essential. This can be a part of your day 4. Along with emotional rest comes giving up control, as I mentioned. So in day 4, you're going to go, I give up control over the way my children are acting today, for example. I give up control over what's going to take place in the workplace today. I give up control over what my body is doing today. Just that intention is enough for day 4, right? Very powerful. Then we're talking about escaping from doer-ship, which is also connected to emotional rest. So giving yourself the permission, there's that word, permission, to not have to do something about something that just happened. I have the symptom, I have to find an answer and get rid of it right away. I have an idea that I don't like, it's a negative idea, I have to get rid of it or replace it right away. Right? Something happened in terms of family members or this, of course, there's a time and place to be reactive in emergency-like scenarios. However, with anxiety, everything feels like an emergency type scenario, right? And in turn, we are moving into the future over worrying about things that didn't necessarily need to be over worried about, right? And so we have to really be aware of our emotional rest. Again, surrendering, giving up control, escaping from doer-ship. And all of this provides us with the opportunity to see what we feel doesn't have to act as law in relation to how we act. Meaning, just because you feel something, it doesn't mean that that is law for you. right? I feel angry, so I must be angry with something. I feel fearful, so I must find something to be fearful about, right? Um, I have an anxiety symptom, so I have to make sure that I protect from this symptom getting worse. So all of that cause and effect type of pattern in your life right now can all go away with day 4 emotional rest, right? Then we move into day 5. Day 5 is about sensory rest. Sensory rest, right? Look at all the beautiful types of rest that you're going to be engaging in the next 7 days, my friends. Please comment below if you are committed to this 7-day challenge, right? You have to be committed. With sensory rest, we're talking about darkness. Now, first of all, with darkness, it's just being in a dark space. You can even grab some kind of a blindfold of sorts, some kind of a sleeping mask, right? Get yourself in darkness and begin to familiarize with that dark space, right? When we were growing up, as children, we always looked at darkness as being a bad thing. But there's so much clarity and so much rest, so much healing that can come from just allowing you not to see something all the time, right? And not to be so reactive to what you see. So darkness is about sensory rest. We're talking about focusing your gaze at a distance, right? Because the moment you wake up in the morning, so many people go to their phones. And when you go to your phones, it takes up a lot more willpower and a lot more mental and emotional effort to look at something here than it does something over the horizon, something very, very far away. So with sensory rest, you want to focus on what you can see very, very far away. Sit on a chair and just look as far as you possibly can and do that for just a few minutes and notice how you're starting to really feed into that restful feeling that you want to feel to overcome anxiety for good. So with sensory rest, we're talking about darkness, focusing your gaze at a distance, and less blue light activity, of course. You've heard this before. Less blue light activity from phones, from computers, from laptops, so on and so forth. You want to make sure that you prioritize sensory rest, because sensory rest gives us, or gives our entire system, a break from overstimulation and the fight or flight response, right? You don't have to always be stimulated. And the moment you start pulling away from all that stimulation, you start to go, man, I've been living my life really, in a strange way that's been hurting me more than helping me. So now you're starting to find some balance through sensory rest in day 5. Day 6 of our challenge comes down to mental rest. And all of you are going, oh, finally he's getting to mental rest, right? I understand. Here are some examples of mental rest that you can do on day 6. Day 6, sound healing, 432 hertz. All you have to do, it's very difficult to find 432 hertz. It's better to just go into nature and listen to the birds chirping and the lake and the wind and the trees and so on and so forth. But if that's not possible right now in the winter months, go on YouTube and look up 432 hertz, nature's tone, which will contribute to your mental rest. As I mentioned, listening to nature, using touch. Using touch can go a long way towards your mental rest. So if you're walking down the street and you've got these beautiful bushes, just go ahead and touch the bush a little bit, right? Notice the texture of the bush. Notice the texture of an apple. Notice the texture of a fruit or a vegetable or anything. So human touch goes a long way towards mental rest. I bet you didn't realize that, but it also brings us into the present moment and keeps us away from catastrophizing in the future. And focusing on your breath, right? For a general rule for mental rest, I would say for day 6, focus on, if you're going to take on day 6 in terms of focusing on your breath, low and slow. That's all you have to focus on. Low and slow. Diaphragmatic breathing. You don't have to count the amount of seconds that you inhale or exhale. You have to breathe through your nose, make sure that it's coming out and in through your tummy, and you have to do that in a deep manner until it becomes a beautiful pattern in your life. So this contributes to mental rest in day 6, right? And what does mental rest do for us? Mental rest allows us to take a break from the gnats, the negative automatic thinking. And the negative automatic thinking can become so real in a person's life, so real that we give it so much focus and energy and attention, and we just strengthen those gnats. We turn them into reality for us, and a reality that we feel like we always have to protect from. Therefore, we are never creating the person that we want to really be, right? With anxiety, you want to live most of your day creating new ideas, creating new behaviors, creating new mental images, right? Creating a new identity rather than protecting from something that you no longer want to feel, right? I hope you're doing that now. And finally, we're at day 7 of the 7-day challenge. And in day 7, we're talking about social rest. Social rest comes down to engaging with nourishing relationships, right? People that you don't feel like you have to put in a tremendous amount of energy into to engage in the conversation, right? That sort of thing. To be around their energy field, because when you're within 6 feet of somebody, you're already within their thought patterns. You're already within their emotional state. So if you feel like you're becoming drained over certain people, in day 7, you're going to stay away from that. And you're just going to focus on the relationships that are of ease. Then you're going to focus on saying no more often to people's demands. This goes hand in hand within social rest in day 7. So no, I don't have time for that. No, I can't get that done, right? And it's very scary to say no at the beginning because so many anxiety sufferers are people pleasers based around the authority figure that they tried to please so often when they were growing up as a child. And they felt like they were never able to please that person no matter how much they did. And that pattern is continuing into so many people's adulthood today. So no, saying no more often and building your inner relationship more with your lower self, with your inner child. That part of you that is frantic, that part of you that does scream the loudest and most often through symptoms, through ideas, through feelings. And instead of seeing all of these things as bad things, you can start to actually look to build a relationship with the anxiety, the relationship with that part of you that is so frantic, right? And is so fearful and is so angry and is so sad and all of these things that it likes to jump onto when it doesn't get its way, right? And so that's day 7 in terms of the social rest. And social rest helps us to understand the importance of self first, putting yourself first. And putting yourself first doesn't mean selfishness. And you need to understand that and come to that kind of a conclusion starting today. Now, in this 7-day challenge, I laid out each day and what you have to do for overall mental well-being and contributing to your anxiety recovery. And I gave you some examples. All you have to do is just pick one of the examples that I gave you. Or if you are intuitively pulled towards something else for any one of these days, that is fine as well. And it doesn't matter if you do it for a minute, 30 seconds, a minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour, 2 hours. To me, it doesn't matter. I just want you to begin to create some momentum in terms of permission to rest in these different ways. And you are going to fall in love with the process of resting, my friends, because it is such an important element to anxiety recovery and an important element to your overall evolving, overall personal growth, and coming back to your true self, away from the egoic mind, away from the lower self, away from franticness over the symptoms, away from trying to protect from diseases and illnesses, away from all of those falsehoods. Why? Because they're all lies. So stop falling for the lies and comment below. Comment below if you will take on this 7-day challenges. As I mentioned, we will be implementing this in the Health Anxiety University this weekend. So look out for the Health Anxiety University community involvement when it comes to this 7-day challenge. I love you from the bottom of my heart. You're doing so amazing. And I'm so proud of you for watching this video until the end, which shows that you are truly ready to accept a new life into your mind, a new life into your heart, a new life into your soul. So let's move forward together and remember that you are more than anxiety. I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to